While Israeli officials revel in the collapse of the Assad regime in Syria, they are also concerned about what the future might hold as the Islamist rebels now in charge work to rebuild a new political order in that country, which, of course, borders on the northeast of Israel. Now, since Saturday, Israeli troops have been positioned between Syria and it's part of the Golan Heights. Now, that is a territory that is of major strategic importance to Israel. Now, critics of the move have condemned Israel for what they say is a dangerous land grab. But we've seen what happens before when terrorists are given an inch. With me now to talk more about this is Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee and the Committee on Space, Science and Technology. She represents the 24th Congressional District of New York. Congresswoman Tenney, welcome to the program. Good to see you.
Great to see you, too.
What do you make of what Israel is doing right now for its own security as it pertains to Syria?
Well, first of all, Israel is doing everything it can to try to bolster its borders against what's happening in Syria. Look, it's great that the Assad regime was removed largely through the efforts of Israel, but now we have what looks to be yet another terrorist regime led by someone who led al-Qaeda, who's wanted by the U.S. on a terror watch list this is going to be uncertain times, certainly going into the future for Israel. So Israel has been very smartly managing this difficult situation in the Middle East, and they need our support, of course. And we just passed a new NDAA that gives them a little bit more support as far as what resupplying some of their arms that they have lost in this waging this war against extreme Islamic terrorism, which they're doing for the rest of the world, I might add. So it's a very complex area. Syria, of course, has been under Assad, but even before that, back when the Ottoman Empire left Syria, with this sort of tribal confusion there, and you have a lot of different warring factions supported by various enemies of ours, whether it's Russia, Turkey, Iran. I hate to put Turkey in that category, but Turkey, is unfortunately getting involved in this as well from all the bordering areas. So it's a very concerning part of the country or of the region, and I'm just very concerned about the future of Syria under what looks to be the current leadership.
Yeah. I think you're also concerned. You're right to be concerned about Turkey and their involvement. As I understand it, there's probably a little more involvement than has yet come to the surface about Turkey and some of these Islamist rebels. And we have a fairly large, it's dwindled in recent years, a Christian population there in Syria, kind of the cradle of Christianity.
Yes.
I want to talk. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said yesterday that Jerusalem, they want to have a relationship with the new regime in Syria, but he said Israel would respond forcefully and exact a heavy price if the new regime allows Iran to reestablish itself or allows the transfer of Iranian weapons to the Lebanese terrorist group Hezbollah. It's a valid concern that this new Syrian government could still be a seed bed for terrorism. Your thoughts?
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about introducing Sharia law there, taking the rights away from women, especially, not protecting the Christians that remain in that region. And again, the influence of Turkey, and I hate to bring it up again, but this is a NATO ally who is acting in a way that is contrary to what the interests of the United States are, which is concerning.
But consistent with what Turkey has been doing in recent years.
Yes, very consistent. This has been happening under, absolutely, considering that they're a NATO member still, which I think that is, this is concerning, and just the warring factions in Syria. Israel is doing everything it can to protect itself and to provide as much stability as they can do there. I mean, look, Israel under Netanyahu have taken bold actions under a lot of criticism, but have stood up for the region and maintaining and eradicating us from Hamas. Not completely, but at least the worst of it. The IRGC countering some of the really incredibly questionable actions coming from Blinken and the Biden administration, to prop up Iran, who is the largest state sponsor of terror and the biggest disruptor in that region. These are all very concerning for us. But Israel has boldly stood up and really kept the world safe and kept a reasonable amount of stability, all while trying to maintain humanitarian support, all while being under siege by interests across the world, including colleges in my own district and places around the United States. That are not understanding the real threat that we see there with our only democracy in the entire region and our greatest ally.
Congresswoman Tenney, you've said here just a few moments ago you want to be careful with your language in how you articulate things, and I think that's wise. And speaking of that, when we talk about this region of the world, as you said, it's since the fall of the Ottoman Empire, it's been a kind of a free-for-all. But you've introduced legislation to require all official United States documents and materials to use the term Judea and Samaria instead of the West Bank. Now, this is something I talk about frequently on this program because the West Bank is such a misnomer and a misleading description of the heartland of Israel. Tell us about this legislation and your motivation.
Well, I agree with you, Tony, and it's by design that it's misleading. It's a slap against the original homeland of the Jewish people in Judea and Samaria. And under the Oslo Accords, this region was protected in part of the Israeli territory and reassigned as their sovereign territory from many years back. And look, this is a place where you still have rights and peace. And the misnomer of continuing to use the word West Bank undermines the sovereignty of Judea and Samaria, the homeland of the Jewish people. And I actually had an opportunity back in 2019, the first time I'd been there, to visit Judea and Samaria and see exactly what's happening there. It's far different than the kind of propaganda that you're seeing around the world. And I think the U.S. government should take bold action, do the right thing, and recognize Judea and Samaria as sovereign territory of Israel. Stop using this pejorative term West Bank to undermine Israeli sovereignty, our great ally, and to continue to allow this sort of underpinning, say, undercoat of terrorism that is coming out of that region just to dismantle and disrupt the true sovereignty of Israel. And I just felt like this was important to do. I'm really pleased that actually Senator Tom Cotton has now picked up this legislation, and he's introduced it in the Senate, and we'll be actually reintroducing it in the next Congress, and hope that we get this done. And I'm sure we will get it done in the next Trump administration, especially with our new ambassador, Governor Mike Huckabee, for Israel. And I'm really excited about that as well.
I like to show this map when I talk about, I've got a clip of a map where the region of the so-called West Bank, can we pull that map up? I know we've got it somewhere in there, but we get to it. I show this, here it is. There's the map. You see the kind of the blue colored area, light green area is so-called West Bank. That's the heart of Israel. That's where 80% of what we read about in our Bibles took place. And Claudia, this is when they talk about West Bank. This is what they talk about when they talk about the plan to solve the conflict, the two-state solution in Israel, is to give up that portion of the land.
Yeah, it's incredible that this is actually the most critical part for both the Jewish people and Christian people. This is where our heritage is in terms of Christians and what we believe in. This is where so many of the holy sites are, and yet we've allowed this to come under the dominion of the Palestinian Authority and be labeled in one of the designated areas that is not sovereign to Israel. And really, of all the places, it's one of the most important. It's where Abraham wrote the Psalms, between the Dead Sea and Jerusalem, in that region, and the hills of Samaria and Judea. Judea stands for the Jewish people. I mean, obviously, these are really important issues. So it is critically important to the Judeo-Christian ethics and the Judeo-Christian history. And I think this attempt to cult the West Bank or to blot it out or to make sure that we don't label these products. It's another bill I have that requires the labeling of products that come from Judea or Samaria as made in Judea or Samaria or made in Israel, not made in the West Bank. And we've got to stop letting them manipulate us with the language. And that's why, starting with some of these bills, just to get us away from that and to get people to understand that the truth about history is the best way to find peace. And allowing the Pompeo doctrine that we had in that before be reinstated. It was taken out under the Biden administration, where we went back to the West Bank language, And I think we need to continue to tell the truth because, truthfully, when you look at Israel, that's a place where all denominations, everyone, all religions, all races, everyone is represented democratically. Everyone has the right to religion, free expression. Everyone has the right to vote. Everyone can go to the Capitol. I mean, this isn't, you would think this is some authoritarian regime, which it's not.
Right.
Voices are heard, but there's always this attempt around the world to undermine, the very important entities in Israel and the very important democracy that's very fragile, but being upheld, courageously by the Israelis. And so important, not only, as I say, this as a Christian man. I mean, going to Israel and seeing Jerusalem and actually going and having the real opportunity to go to Judea,
It's
as I
powerful.
did, is one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had.
I've been there many times, took the first congressional tour into the Judea and Samaria. In fact, spoke with the governor of Samaria last week. He's excited about your bill. You've got a great cheerleader in Yossi Dagan. Claudia Tenney, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Great work. We're going to help you with this as much as we can.
Thanks so much, Tony. Great to be on.